Thank you very much, Stephen. I am grateful to you for the invitation, for the opportunity to be here with you today and to talk to such a wide and group of experts. You're right. I'm currently in China. I've attended the Boao Forum last week in the island of Hainan. And of course, the key theme of the discussion was the Belt and Road, the achievement that China and the countries have made in the last few years, and really more about what needs to be done next. For those who don't know, everyone knows that the Boao Forum is kind of considered maybe the Davos of Asia, and it's not just there are very similarities, just like the Belt and Road and the Boao Forum. They're kind of two initiatives initiated by China. The Boao Forum is physically in the Hainan Island, but they're really not just something about China. There's something about anyone who is interested in helping developing any part of the world. And it can be done for two reasons. It can be done for ethical reasons. One can say developing countries need to participate in the wealth that the Western countries have created, sometimes at the expenses of those countries, because we must not forget our own history. And sometimes it's for economic reasons. What we call it the double bottom approach. So whether one wants to be part of the Belt and Road to make money, which is fine, or just to help, which is also fine. Those are two reasons that were emphasized in this forum. And it's been like with the narrative that China and all the participating countries have given. Italy, like you kindly reminded, Stephen, is one of the first, let's say, large countries to be part of it. The first G7 countries. I personally pushed for Italy to join this initiative. There were lots of misunderstandings. We were criticized by our American friends, by our European friends for Italy doing something out of the pack, as if every country needs to always ask other countries before doing something. We tend to think that we are an independent country in Italy. We are members of a number of international organizations, European Union, NATO, and Atlantic Alliance, etc., that we respect, but that does not mean that we cannot entertain direct conversation, whether diplomatic or commercial relationship with any of the countries in the world. And in fact, what Italy did in the MOU was the first of a series of things that the countries who criticize us did. First, the US-China Phase 1 agreement, that is an agreement that the US has the right and the interest to pursue without needing to ask me. Lighthizer didn't call me and say, Michele, I'm setting up a Phase 1 agreement, which, by the way, will divert Chinese imports from Europe into America. So America will benefit and Europe may suffer. He didn't call me, and he was right. He shouldn't call me. He can pursue. His duty is to do the interest of his American citizen. So I applaud this agreement. That is kind of an MOU that the American did with China on trade. The European Union also did its own agreement at the recent. We need to see what happens to it. But anyway, at the moment, there is on the plate a investment agreement, the CAI, with China that tends to do what? Tends to help companies that want to invest in China. And again, I think this is good for the European Union as a whole. To be honest, I think this is not very good for Italy because we don't really have any companies that will invest in China. This is good probably for Germany that has 3.4 Volkswagen cars made in China. It's good for France that sells Airbus to China Eastern and so on. And we'll see. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that everyone does their own agreement in the interest of a group, and that they don't always need to communicate with others. Because this is one thing I want to tell our friends who are maybe not familiar with Europe. Europe is a strange alliance. We are partners when we do trade policy, when we set tariffs. And by the way, we're not really partners. We are obliged to have the same tariff, and sometimes certain tariff favor certain countries, certain industry, not others. So there's a bit of confusion there in the common, in the custom union policy, which is, it creates divisions within Europe. But anyway, we have the same policy. But then when it comes to promotion of products, exports and investment, we have to be honest, we are fierce competitors. And I go to the key point of why, one example why I wanted Italy to push for it. I would like, even if I'm not in government at the moment, that the Italian government, and I insist with them, with my colleagues who run the country now, to insist that Italy should be the terminal of the Belt and Road. The Mediterranean is in a strategic position that would benefit from containers arriving from China, from the rest of Asia, from all the parts, even from Africa, into our Italian ports. This is one thing I want to do it. Why do I want to do it? Does it mean that I want more, I don't know, Chinese fake goods to come into Europe? No. Do I want more imports for China that would destroy our economy? No. But those things will happen without my control. All I can do is for the containers to be diverted into, for example, the Italian ports, so that we can check what comes in, we can check the quality, we can give jobs to people who work in our ports to offload and load containers. That means more GDP, more employment for the local economy. And that's why I talk about ports, and that's why I made the premise on the European Union, because if we don't do it in Italy, other countries in Europe do it. And once the goods arrive in Rotterdam, they are free to trade, to travel in the rest of Europe. And I don't know if we have some Dutch friends on the line, but we do know that with the 15 million TEUs a year, we can only check 1% of those with a sound scanner. But that's fine. I'm not doubting the quality of how the Rotterdam port is organized, but I'm saying that Italy and Holland, we can be friends, but for ports, we are fierce competitors. One container more in Trieste or Genova is one container less in Rotterdam, one container less in Marseille, one less in Greece, one less in Hamburg, and one less maybe in Antwerp and the other ports of Europe. So this is the strange thing that we compete for practical purposes. And so one of the many rationale for Italy joining the Belt and Road was exactly to try to entice more business to arrive into Italian ports, which is our own economic interest. So I understand the criticism. Of course, that means we could take business out of Holland, out of Germany, out of France, but c'est la vie. That's why we do compete. And I think that's also why we got criticized, because maybe for the first time, Italy was taking a more active role, maybe out of the pack, more active. That is the correct word, less passive than in the past. Now, all the risks that the Belt and Road can have, we have analyzed them all. I'm a former banker, so I like numbers and I like analysis on which to base political decisions. And there were some, but we look at them and we thought they did not apply to Italy. So we are not a small country with a 50 billion GDP. We're a country with 1.7 trillion GDP. Unfortunately, this year, 1.6 trillion GDP. So we cannot fall into that trap. We cannot be fragile to Chinese political influence. If China, sends a couple of containers into our ports, we're talking about hundreds of millions, maybe billions, but not in the order of 1.7 billion. No. We had the example of Montenegro in the last few days. 1 billion is a lot for Montenegro, but it's nothing for Italy. So China has invested only 20 billion euros stock since the beginning of mankind. I don't know if there are any French friends online, but I personally am more worried about predatory M&A from France, not from China. And I say this, I've said it to the Ministry of Trade in France, I've delivered a message indirectly to Mr. Macron. And again, we are competing, it's part of the game that in economy, in a fair way, we do compete with each other. And if I was Vivant, if I was Airbus, if I was a French company, Saint-Nazaire, I would like to be very fearful with Italian telecom companies, with Italian Fincantieri. That's their job, and they are right to do it. So I do think, and I give you my political reading, and I conclude here. The main reason for criticizing countries that enter the Belt and Road is not political, but it's economic. But the political narrative gets hold on the media. It is easy to sell. It is easy to sell, oh, why do you deal with countries that do not respect human rights? Why do you deal with countries that have Hong Kong? Why do you deal with countries that have pollution? It's very easy to capture, and people then fall into this trap. It would not be easy to sell the idea, why do you join the Belt and Road and you want to take business from us? And I say, because I'm paid by my Italian citizen to do it. And of course, and so the economic argument is never discussed as a reason to criticize countries to join the Belt and Road, because it will be immediately defeated. But a political argument on higher level, it does really capture the imagination of the listeners, and so it gets hold. And that's why I always say these Belt and Road things are economic treaties, they're not even treaties, sorry, they're MOUs, agreements, and there are no obligation. If countries feel that they have an ethical problem to do business with the US for the past, for Italy for the past, for China for the past, and so on, they don't do business. No one is forcing individual companies to do any business. And at the end of the day, this is how our open economies work. The government has set a framework to allow companies to do business in a better environment. If there's a problem, they can call the government to government tries to solve it. So the B2B problem gets raised to G2G. But if any company says, no, I do not want to be part of this project, I do not want to benefit, or I think the risk, fine. That's the key message. It's an option, but there is no obligation on the side of the companies. They can freely choose to be part or not. I stop here, giving you this half economic and half political angle, but I do think that the opportunities are there, and we need to look at them with an analytical way, not ideological, because ideological is always, I think this, you think that, and we would never agree on anything. The numbers always find the way into this negotiation, find an easy way for differences to be smoothed. And as a professor, I always say, let's get back to Excel spreadsheets that tend to solve problems. I stop here. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for listening.